Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Sunday morning. Well, here we go to Pennsylvania. With us today is Senator Dave McCormick, and one great guy, and worried about Pennsylvania, worried about our country. Well, Senator, where do we start? Pennsylvania, it's a great state. Have you guys solved all the problems down there?
Hey, John, good to be with you. Well, we haven't solved all the problems yet, but I think Pennsylvania has a huge opportunity in front of us, and you know Pennsylvania well. But this AI revolution is happening. We might wish it's not happening, but it's happening. And the question is, do we want to be in the lead as America relative to China? And the question for Pennsylvania is, do we want to be in the lead for our country compared to other states? And Pennsylvania is uniquely blessed because we have incredible energy resources, second largest energy producer in America. We got great skilled labor, great workers, welders and pipe fitters and steam fitters, mechanics, electricians. We got great universities, and we got incredible natural geography where we're close to most of the population. So I've been making the case that Pennsylvania needs to be at the intersection of AI and energy. And my wife and I had a big energy summit in July where we had the president come, his cabinet, Governor Shapiro, Senator Fetterman, and all sorts of CEOs that committed $90 billion of investment to Pennsylvania. And that's where I think Pennsylvania needs to go.
That is a big number, and Pennsylvania was always a large energy state, and it should stay a large energy state because it's located just right. And have you a lot of problems in Pennsylvania where the Pittsburgh side of the state had different philosophies from the Philadelphia side of the state? Is that coming closer together?
I think it's coming closer together. Listen, I mean, they're very different parts of the state. And then, of course, the rural part of Pennsylvania where I grew up, very conservative. Those counties aren't as populated, very conservative. And you have more progressive policies in places like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. But here's the reality. Pennsylvania has been falling behind. If you look at Pennsylvania relative to other states, we're about 28th or 29th in terms of our economic development, the ease of doing business. Our schools aren't as, in America and in Pennsylvania, aren't as good as they should be. That's why we need school choice. So Pennsylvania can't stay on the same path. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, or we're going to, we have an aging population. We're going to lose our kids, and they're not going to come back to Pennsylvania. So we need to change things. And what I feel, no matter where I go, we got 67 counties, I feel an appetite for change, an appetite for getting our Commonwealth back on track. And I think there's three big things, John, and I won't talk too long, but one is what I just talked about, energy and innovation, AI. The second is defense. Under President Trump, we're going to increase the defense budget by at least $150 billion. Pennsylvania should be at the center of that. The Philadelphia shipyard, building new ships, robotics at Carnegie Mellon, the ammunition at the Scranton ammunition facility. York, Pennsylvania builds the next generation combat vehicle. So Pennsylvania should be a defense state in terms of the defense renaissance. And then the third thing is we are a huge place for life sciences. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh have great universities, great research. And because of President Trump's policies, we have pharmaceutical companies that are now reshoring and building new manufacturing in Pennsylvania. Those three things, in my opinion, are Pennsylvania's future.
Well, those are great items. I mean, with defense, the one thing we know, the federal government always pays.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Sometimes too much.
Yes. Now, let me tell you, other states, I mean, Pennsylvania is a quasi-blue state and quasi-red state. You know, it switches back and forth sometimes. The problems of fraud that's going on in some of the blue states, have you seen any of that in Pennsylvania?
You know, I haven't, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. So I think stepping back, what happened during COVID was that the federal government, to help people that were struggling, threw enormous amounts of money in the SNAP program, in Medicaid, in additional subsidies, and a lot of that money was allocated to the states. And we have lots of evidence that there was fraud across the country, and in those programs, Minnesota is just the most horrible example of taxpayer money. But in all these programs, you know, they were very vulnerable to fraud, and the expenses went up like crazy. Let me give you an example, John. In the last 5 years, Medicaid cost in Pennsylvania went from $28 billion a year to $43 billion a year, and the number of people receiving Medicaid stayed the same, 3 million people a year.
Mind-boggling.
Right?
Mind-boggling,
right? This is crazy. And so that's why I've been trying to be part of the effort to reform these programs, reform SNAP. So you have to have work requirements to be eligible for those food subsidies. The same with Medicaid. We made the most modest reform in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut Act, which was to say if you're going to receive Medicaid, you need to work 80 hours a month. That's not 80 hours a week. That's 80 hours a month. And you would have thought, you know, based on the way the Democrats were talking about it, you would have thought we were taking babies out of incubators. You know, this was a modest reform to try to make sure that we protected the taxpayer dollars. So to your question, yes, I think there's fraud across our country. I think there's fraud in these programs. And I think one of our responsibilities as Republicans is to try to modify these programs so we can eliminate that fraud.
And have some checks and balances, I guess.
Absolutely.
Now, one additional thing. There's big controversy. We're knocking out the federal government. We're knocking out boats that are bringing in drugs to our states and our cities. Why are some of the Democrats objecting to that?
I don't know. For me, this seems obvious. I campaigned on this. So did President Trump. I said on the first day we need to do three things. We need to secure the border, which he did. So number two, we have to designate these narco groups as terrorists, narco-terrorists. The armament, the weaponry these guys have is they're like paramilitary organizations, John. These are not guys with knives and handguns. These are guys with drones and anti-aircraft weapons. And the third thing we need to do is use our military selectively to take out these narco-terrorists. And that's exactly what the president's done with the attacks on the boats. You know this number, but maybe your listeners don't. We lost almost 100,000 Americans last year to drugs, to fentanyl, to opioids. We lost 4,000 people in Pennsylvania. And you're old enough to remember, John, as I am, the Vietnam War. In Vietnam, in 8 years of war, we had 53,000 people killed in action. We had 2 Vietnams last year from drugs. So this is a poison. It's a poison being sent to us by these narco-terrorists, and we need to use the military to take them out.
I think President Trump did the right thing. They're killing 100,000 Americans a year from drugs. And, you know, pardon my language, screw them. I mean, President Trump did what he had to do to protect the American people.
Totally. And he said he was going to do it. You know,
Yep.
This is the thing. All this surprise, we can't believe it. He campaigned on that. I campaigned on that. We got elected saying we were going to stop the flow of fentanyl and go after the narco terrorists. So I applaud him for doing it, and I applaud him for keeping his promises.
Senator Dave McCormick, thank you so much for coming on this Sunday morning, and let's talk a little bit more often, because we all want what's best for America and for our kids and grandkids.
Yes, sir. Thank you for what you're doing, John.
Thanks
for having me.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.